So I immediately started sticking or sneaking some things into there. So I'm obsessed with post-it notes or sticky notes.
Yeah.
So it was already up my alley to start doing things and learning how to pull them. Oh yeah, I got some here myself. They're hidden under something. Oh, this is it here with some notes on it
Yes.
already. They're all stuck to my keyboard too as well. So I'm obsessed with sticking them on things. So when things like Last Planner System came out and such, all those things were right up my alley just because of my obsession with post-it notes alone. So I immediately started sticking, things all the way across my desk and such, and I started sneaking in things because at the time I had recently trained the year before to be a facilitator. And so I took this master class on facilitation. And so the two of those married together, I was like, I can totally do a sprint like right now with a couple things that I have. I'm like, all right, let me gather some people and test it out.
Welcome to the EBFC Show, the easier, better for construction podcast. I'm your host, Felipe Engineer Manriquez. This show is all about the business of construction. Today's episode is sponsored by
Bosch Refine My Site is a cloud-based construction collaboration platform that applies lean principles to enable your entire team to plan, communicate, and execute in real time. It's the digital tool that works in tandem with your Last Planner System process and puts it all together in one simple, collaborative ecosystem. This easy-to-use platform is available in English, German, Spanish, Portuguese, and French, and can be used on desktops, tablets, and mobile devices. According to Spencer Easton, scheduling manager at Oakland Construction,
Refine My Site, in my opinion, is the best, leanest tool on the market for Last Planner System.
here's what our users have to say. We've looked at 3 other digital scheduling platforms and none compare to the straightforward approach Refine My Site takes. From milestone planning all the way down to daily tasks, this program gives every general contractor and their trade partners meaningful collaboration, accountability, and KPIs. Register today to try Refine My Site for free for 60 days.
Today's show is also sponsored by the Lean Construction Institute. LCI is working to lead the building industry in transforming its practices and culture. Its vision is to create a healthy and thriving industry that delivers outstanding project outcomes every time for everyone. Check the show notes for more information. Now, to the show. Welcome to the show, LaShira Champion-King. Hello, LaShira.
Hi, how are you today?
Surprise, I woke up and I was alive, so it was a beautiful day.
Always a plus. I took your Scrum class, so I was all super excited about that, and when I saw you on LinkedIn, I followed the show, I believe, beforehand, and then, yeah, super thrilled, super big fan of yours, especially after the exciting Scrum course that we had at the Lean Construction Institute Congress there a few years ago, so yeah, super excited to be here. So there's a couple committees that I chair at work, and one is for quality. I do both the quality, lean, and innovation for Walbridge. And so in each of those meetings, I find a way to sneak something small in. It's going to expand here a little more with the new innovation process that we're starting to roll out. I'm going to have what we're going to call, I'm not going to call them sprints, I'm going to call them spark sessions.
Yeah.
However, it's my way of sneaking in some Scrum and getting people on board with seeing how exciting it could be.
Well, sure, I got to tell you, this is right from Jeff Sutherland himself. He said when they're deploying it, to name it for what makes sense for you and your organization.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I think I've heard and I don't know if it was from him or yourself or someone, that Verizon, the phone company, was doing Scrum, and then of course they didn't want to say Sprint. when they're Verizon and are like, we're not calling anything Sprint. So I thought that was hilarious. Good Scrum joke.
Yes, it is. Oh my God, the competition is real. To all the beautiful people, all the listeners out there. Listeners, we love you. Thank you for following, watching, listening worldwide. We appreciate you. Please feel free, as always, to make comments. We do respond. And I encourage all my guests to respond as well. Like, feel free to jump on in there and leave a review. It's not going to hurt you to tell us what you love about this episode. We'll share those on the website at theebfcshow.com. LaShira, please introduce yourself.
So my name is LaShira Champion-King. I work at Walbridge in Detroit. I've been in construction for about 16 years. Like tons of people, I did not intend on going into construction. I was an architecture student with a specialty in facilities management, and I never applied to work at Walbridge, yet here I am. I was searching for an internship, and I went down to the career services office while I was doing my undergrad. And when I said something about specializing in facilities management, I had to explain what it was. Most people don't know what that encompasses, so I had to explain what that was and how it's tied back to architecture, and that's how I ended up in that particular field. Well, it turns out that particular person went out with a person from Walbridge that night. They went out for drinks, and whoever the person was that he had gone out with said, hey, I've been busy because we were starting this facility management part of the business. And he said, hey, I met a lady. She's going to have a bachelor's degree that specializes in facilities management. Maybe you two should talk. So he had given Walbridge my number, my information. I got a call, and they're like, hey, we'd like to have you come in for an interview. And I was looking for an internship, but I was applying for jobs to do CAD. I was applying to reproduction companies. I was applying to everything except construction pretty much. And I go in for the interview, and the guy's like, hey, I'd love to hire you. It's like, okay, awesome. He says, do you know where you're going to work? I have no idea where I'm going to work. Tell me where I'm assigned, and I'll show up. And he says, are you sure you don't know? Well, it turns out it was directly across the street from where I lived. So it was awesome. I got to walk across the street to work every morning. And so it worked out well. And I stayed ever since. They welcomed me with open arms. I've had tons of great experiences throughout the 16 years. Just over time, I started on the construction site. I've gone over to facility management side and done some project management on that side too as well. One of the things that happened, if you read my first name, my first initial is L, and before I was married, my last name was just Champion. So I was LaShira Champion. Well, we are a big lean organization. We're huge on lean construction. And our business unit leader at the time said, I got this idea. You're going to be our lean champion, because everybody was required to have a lean champion. And I'm like, is he doing this because, hey, I'm this low-level person. I'm entry-level. I just started here, and he's giving me this responsibility to do. And he said, no, that's not what it is. He said, your first initial is L, and your last name is Champion. And he thought it was the slickest thing in the world. So he says, when I go into the meetings, I tell them, my lean champion is L Champion. And no one knew who I was at the time, so it's hilarious as I met people and I said, hi, I'm LaShira Champion. And they're like, oh, you're the L Champion. You're the guy or the girl that they're talking about. Nice to meet you. They didn't think it was a real person. They thought he was just saying that, and like he was really the person in the background. And so that got me my start in lean. That was how I got started with doing lean projects and learning more about lean construction and being on steering committees and such. That was kind of how I cut my teeth based on what my name is. And I remember him saying, if you ever get married, don't change your name. And it's like, okay, tell that to my future husband. And so then my husband met me, and of course his last name is King, and he's like, you have to hyphenate because it would be the most awesome last name ever. And so here I am, LaShira Champion-King, the only guy that told your wife that you have to hyphenate your name. But
hyphenated last names, I mean, that's a whole nother rabbit hole that we're not going to go into in this episode, I think, maybe. But do people ever ask you if Champion's your middle name?
No, I actually have never been asked that.
Well, let's start that right now.
They usually start off when they read it, they're like, you are awesome. And I'm like, I am. What did
You
I
are.
do? And they're like, your name. I love your name. I want to change my name to your name. It's like, okay. Oh, so that's pretty much the extent of what I get. But yeah, everywhere I go, if I'm paying for something, getting rental cars, whatever it is, it's, oh my God, I love your name.
Yeah, I get a mix of that and engineer's your middle name?
Oh no. Your parents were determined to just
Yeah. Like, it was destiny.
figure out your path.
It's destiny. Yeah.
Yes.
It's amazing. What did you learn first about lean after you got made the L champion for Walbridge?
So part of being the lean champion, the first thing, of course, was the cost side of it, and 5S was kind of the two things that kind of slapped me in the face at the same time. Learning to manage various projects all at once too is another piece of it. And so you go over here and listening to ideas, getting people to develop their ideas. Some people have very good ideas and they don't always know how to articulate it. And so gaining the people skills to coach people through how to get to that end point. And then the other side of that is just the joy of being able to accomplish a project, if you will, and helping people to realize, oh, wait, I did that, and so people, that sense of accomplishment is always worth its weight in gold to watch someone develop to that point. But some people don't, they know they have an issue, or they know they have an idea, and they don't always see themselves as a person that can champion something like that. And so a lot of times that became a part of the thing too. And it's like, wait a minute, we can do this. There's a young lady that I had an instance with that, and I started coaching her and getting her eyes to see a lot of the lean ideas and getting her to open up her perspective, and now I can't turn her off. Like, listen, do you have off button? Well, I got this idea, and then we're working on this project over here, and we just saved X amount of dollars over here for this, and now, that we have the short version. I can't turn her off now because of the coaching, but it is refreshing to see that in return, that now she's a champion for a business unit. Pretty much she's unofficially serving as the champion, and of course the leader appreciates it because she's so excited about it, and she's starting to get other people excited about it. So I like that it's cascading in the way that it has. But I learned from the beginning that I had to create that joy and excitement because, again, I was this entry-level person, and they probably thought I didn't know what I was talking about. But when they started to realize I could shoot three-pointers like Steph Curry, and she helped me realize this, then I kind of became, a favorite to a lot of those folks.
That's beautiful. And I love how you're using enthusiasm and positivity to spread it. I mean, that is like right on point. When I first started getting into this, there's not like a book for people like us to just be like, here, now you're a champion. Just follow these steps. It's pretty much every organization's like, we know we need to do this. We know we need to put somebody on this. Mm-hmm. And, they make decisions to pick their champions for different reasons. And psychology is a big part of it.
And I'm generally not a person that would have gotten into that. I'm very introverted and such. But, again, if you can find the joy and the passion in something, and sometimes that joy is camouflaged as something that's very painful to you. And so, getting those pains and turning it into something more tangible, and then something that gives you that sense of accomplishment is huge. And so that's how it ended up working out. But yeah, those conversations did not start off with me being this cheerleader and everybody's just running. It took some finessing and some developing for me to learn to do that.
Yeah, you've been at it for a while. I like too that you focused early on facilitation. Was that something that you reached for and pulled for, or is that something that was just like happening and you just took advantage of it?
A little bit of both. Some people, it's I guess sometimes our CEO has told me one time, I just like it better when you say it. It's like, okay. And so that's how it kind of turned on to, okay, now here's the facilitation piece, and then I eventually got some formal training for it and such. But I've been told that a number of times. Of course, the most honorable one was the CEO. He didn't have to explain why he wanted me to do a specific thing. He said, I want you to do it, and I'm sorry, I know you have this big workload, but it just sounds so much better when you're saying it. It's like, oh, okay, cool, thank you. And so I just started to see that I had a knack for it despite being so introverted. And here I am.
Yeah, I would never guess that you're introverted. I saw you presenting at the Lean Construction blog and the field conference recently. I was captivated during your presentation.
Wow. Thank you.
Yeah, you're really good. You're really good. I really enjoyed it a lot. I was on the edge of my chair. And
wow.
You were, yes, you got to go back and watch. Go back and look at, I blew you up in the chat. I mean, it was like I was in there in the pocket with people. And, a lot of the concepts that you were sharing around continuous improvement and innovation, diversity, equity, inclusion, these are topics that, some select people have a lot of knowledge in, and then overall in the industry, awareness can be quite low in some of these different areas. I'd like to unpack, one of those. Let's start easy first. Start with continuous improvement. Let me hear your take on it and just your opinion. And if you could share a story that kind of brings it to life, that would be just extra credit.
For me, just going a little bit with the love-hate thing that I was just talking about, having so much joy, and sometimes that joy is camouflaged a little bit in something that is very painful to you. So for me, continuous improvement is just loving something to the extent that you decide to improve it and to make it better and to refine it and to build upon that relationship the same way that you would do in the marriage. You're not doing the same things that you did 10 years ago in the marriage. You've refined and just grown together and such. And it's the same thing in those relationships with what you do for a living and anything else that you'd like to do. You'd like to get better at it over time, but it's loving it enough to be able to do it, not to do it just to say, okay, we improved. It worked out. One of those items was when I was in the project management sides of things and having efficiencies on project sites. And so sometimes I was on very large sites where there was a lot of walking through facilities and such. And some of those plights that I had, those things that wore me out at the end of the day, I said, hey, there's a better way to do this. And so I came up with ways to automate pieces. Sometimes there was things just as simple as spreadsheets and such. And I started to develop these items and some pieces that would save these project managers quite a bit of time. And when it came time for me to test it out, I had to go to just 3 different types of sites. And I said, hey, can I use your computer? I need to test the firewall to see if we could get through to have these specific tasks do what I needed to do in order. And each time I got one reaction was a lady, she said, I had to keep from saying this out loud because I didn't know you well enough to know if you could take the joke. But she said, I wanted to kiss you when I saw what that thing did. And I was like, oh, okay, great. And there's another older gentleman, and for years after he saw me, he wanted his site to be the flagship site for the kickoff of this. And he's like, I need you to, that thing you had, I need that. I need you to go to my site over here, and we need to be the first, and I need this. And so it was that success. But the savings in time with just approvals and equipment and getting your materials, and there were so many things all in one encompassing in the job, was like a 30% time avoidance, where you could really shift your time over to something else rather than do these things that would take a long time to do. But again, just loving being able to take that whole picture and then just put it in order. For me, it's like doing a puzzle, which I like to do from time to time. I was able to just put something in order, and it ended up working out. And so again, it was good to look at the end and see, man, this project really worked out. And yeah, those project managers were pretty thankful to see that time savings, and in a lot of instances it ended up being cost savings too, as well as their sanity. It could be really tiresome from day to day with some of the requirements and how you had to move things around, and it preserved people. So there's that respect for people again, that preservation was much appreciated.
I find that the continuous improvement and respect for people, when done well, intertwine like DNA, like a double helix.
Mm-hmm.
One without the other is just noisy information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I like that story that, you're talking about making an improvement for people, and you tested it, you did an experiment, and you saved hours. Would you say hours per day or hours per week for those projects?
Oh, it was definitely hours per day, with just some of the being able to automate. And like I said, sometimes it was just listing. It was simple as just being able to list something to allow people. But the process improvements, it was a big overall process improvement. Humongous. I took the whole job description and just kind of worked backwards from there. Like, okay, we have to do these things. And just like you just said, I went daily, weekly, monthly. What are these deliverables? What is this specific customer asking for? What's this specific customer? And sometimes it consisted of me interviewing others saying, okay, do they ask you for these things? And then it's, yeah, and then I also have to have one of these. And so, yeah, I just ended up working for there, and I became engrossed in it for a few months. And when I finally hit a point in saying, hey, do you mind if we test this thing out? It immediately turned into them shaking me, saying, I need this now. It's like, okay, I'll see what I can do.
I just think of all the project managers listening out there, and I know you're out there listening and watching.
Yes.
You can save hours a day by doing an experiment and having a dedicated person in your company helping you with that. What would that be worth to you? It sounds like it's worth a lot. It's at least worth a kiss. We know that it's worth a kiss, and we know that it's worth people wanting to be the guinea pig and doing the first trials. It sounds incredible.
Like I said, it's wonderful. And now we have other similar projects to that, seeing the same results, but now the one that they have going. I didn't do that one myself, but yeah, the same results were there. They're seeing a lot of the savings throughout Walbridge, just based on having this specific operations guide that was put together by our management team. And so I was just a smaller scale version of it, and now it's humongous. Someone else has taken it on, and it's huge. So yeah, it's refreshing to see, and like I say, I geek out on things like that. So yeah, it works well.
Perfect. And so that you kind of hit on continuous improvement and respect for people, double duty right there in that story. I like that. Can you also unpack a little bit of the diversity, equity, inclusion that you talked about in your presentation for people that don't know?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people, I'd gotten a couple notes from some other people, and a lot of them got out of the kick out of the story about Noah's Ark. And my belief that Noah's Ark only survived because of the diversity, equity, and inclusion that consisted of putting together the ark. The flood destroyed everything in its path. There were other sturdy structures out there that could have been destroyed, but I believe the survival and the thriving of Noah's Ark was because of what was inside of the ark. All the value of all those things and people and animals and whatever else was in there, all those things put together, I think, is what caused it to rise above the flood. And so it's the same difference today. People who are surviving in this time, in this pandemic, in all the uncertainty, if you pay attention, they have been very intentional about their inclusive excellence. They've been very intentional about those things. I also talked a little bit about how, a storm in the Sahara also fertilizes the Amazon. This is things that are very far away from each other, but it shows how one part plays. It's a necessity for the other part. No matter how far away, no matter how far fetched, everything has its own purpose, and every person brings their own perspective to the table. And so it's things like that show us. You hear in the health industry. You hear things about your gut health. Now they're saying that that's your second brain, or it really is your brain. It's the state of your gut. Well, the way that the bacteria and such is broken down in your gut, if you throw that out of balance, the next thing you know, you've got an autoimmune disease. You've got all types of allergies. You have what they call leaky gut. But getting those things back into balance, bringing that population back into the correct diversity is optimally would make your body operate optimally. And so that diversity, equity, and inclusion is all around us. Just being able to have not only different types, but being able to meet each person where they are. When you meet each person where they are, you'd be surprised at the results that you get out of people just by meeting them where they are. And I believe I told the story about the carpenters who were Spanish speaking and terrified to meet others. And then there was a little bit of teasing that was going on. But when they were met where they are, they were able to catch the schedule up. And it was pretty, there was some pretty dire needs there in terms of catching up and working around some circumstances with the weather and such. But they were able to do that when the confidence was there. Once that was moved out of that barrier was moved out of the way, and they realized, hey, I'm welcome, I'm included, and other people learned to say buenos dias and such who weren't open to that previously. Well, it all worked out in the end for us to meet some goals that we had as a project team, not just being friendly to each other, but now we can meet the project goals that we may not have met without having that level of buy-in from those carpenters.
Those are some really good, powerful stories, and it takes many to make it happen. I think now with
absolutely
construction,
and you think about most of the tools that we have. Last Planner system. How are you doing Last Planner system to its fullest potential, to its fullest extent, without some level of diversity, equity, and inclusion? You're meeting whomever. You're meeting that person where they are to say, hey, if I can finish this area by this time, or oh wait, I need to get in that area for this. Okay, and you have these folks working together. Each of the trades are able to work together and have that conversation with each other. But if you were really doing that and working Last Planner system to the extent and to the level of power that it really has, try including that element, the diversity, equity, and inclusion. If you were being intentional about that, what would that look like? What would you accomplish, or what's able to be accomplished through something like Last Planner system?
It does lower the barriers down for communication. I mean, I've seen, construction in the United States in particular, superintendents tend to come up through carpentry and that type of trade for the most part. And then, there's a movement now where there's some college-educated superintendents as well. We're seeing more and more of that. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, it tends to be like consolidated in carpentry. And
yes,
Last Planner,
absolutely.
I've seen exactly that thing where all of a sudden now, because of the structure and the framework of the system, people are connecting. Like, the painter can say something that impacts the plumber, that could impact the framer, that could impact the glazer, and you get innovation and ideas sparking from people and different experiences that you never would have even thought to ask the caulker, like, why should this fire sprinkler pipe be done in a certain way? And all of that is possible because everyone gets a voice.
You said it perfectly. Just the things you wouldn't have thought to ask, and even being the person on the other end, if I'm the painter, the carpenter, the plumber, things that they may have not thought to say, oh yeah, I need so and so and so. And so even the things that they may be forgetting, you're capturing so much of that. I'm sure someone's doing a study somewhere on what this captures. It's hard to articulate that or to measure that, but it's huge. So you think of foundational tools like that in the lean construction world, and how those things are applied, again, not just at the friendly level, but you can actually, get some production going with these types of things, and innovation, and it can be life changing based on these types of things if you can change up the way that you work to make it that much easier. So yeah, absolutely, I love it. I am missing when I listen to your show or I watch sometimes. We haven't had any sound effects. Where are all those sound effects? That's a part of what does it for me. I usually make my own noises, but I won't.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. That came up in another show. So yeah, there is a sound effect board. It's here. It didn't get taken from me, but the editing team is having an issue with how the sound effects get unsynchronized with the audio.
Gotcha.
And so we've had to scale back to, I've got there's another backup mic right here. There's 2 microphones, just in case. And I mean, there's a third microphone even here, just in case. It's
I love it.
It's ridiculous here with what we have, backup systems for backup systems. But yeah, I'll bring some sound effects in because that is super typical of how I operate. You're too right. And I've had actually one person complain that they thought it was too many sound effects, that this should be a little more professional.
Oh no, I think it's awesome.
For anyone that says sound effects don't belong on a professional podcast, you are incorrect.
There you go.
They always belong. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. The sound effects get me excited too. I've even seen in Last Blender System in design, there was a series of meetings I got to participate in, and there was a lead consultant for the architect that came to one of the early meetings. This is leadership and energy environmental design.
Yeah, yep, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yep.
But just for everybody else, because I promise everybody that when we say acronyms, I will do my best to spell it out at least one time or put it in the show notes. And yes, people, check out the show notes. There's some good links in there.
Yeah, we're kind of alphabet soup here in the construction industry, so we have all these abbreviations for everything. But awesome. So you said you had a lead consultant that came in early on.
She came in early on to one of the meetings, and this was right around schematic design starting to take shape. In Last Planner System, we had to go around and everybody had to contribute. And I was the facilitator, and I said, we'll go around and I want you to introduce yourselves as what you're responsible for, not what your title is. And I told people, it's just for me so I can understand, who's in the room, what voices there are, and who should I need to call on if we need to get there. This person had said, afterwards in the Plus Delta, one of the first meetings where they actually got to speak and contribute. And then they kept coming back to all these subsequent meetings, week after week after week after week. And
love it.
Yeah, it was an incredible project. They finished the design, I want to say about 10 months, let me not exaggerate, 10 months earlier than originally scheduled by a critical path method schedule.
I love it.
10 months earlier is just impressive. And the people credited to just having the ability to talk and be heard, and even getting some of those things on the lead scorecard up in front of people at exactly the right time when structural engineers needed to hear it and the architect needed to hear it so they can have those conversations and trade-offs and not just try to make something work.
I absolutely love it.
Not to say that they can't just make it work, because people are so creative, as you know.
They are.
They're super creative, but why does it have to be so hard?
And what you just said is so much easier. I actually learned a little bit of a game that I used to facilitate at the beginning when we're doing it. Really starts off with team building, but the same thing. If you get all the players at the table, it's huge there in the beginning. And this one customer was famous for being, the meetings were for answering emails. That's what she was there for. I'm going to answer these emails. And I turned into, hey, take out this sticky note and give me 2 gifts and a hook is what we call it. So two gifts that you bring to the table, these two things that you think you could do for this project while we're going through X number of months of this project, and then the one hook. And the hook was the thing that will hold your attention for the entire duration of this meeting. So I was able to collect all those items and make sure that we got to each of those, and the same thing, the same results. As soon as we had gotten through the list of those items, those offenders who thought that the meetings or these team buildings were going to be for answering emails all shut their computers and were fully engaged, laughing, talking, and really getting some of the planning done. As you know, for people like us and lean and quality, planning is, to a quality and lean person is what PPE is to safety.
Right.
And so it's so essential at the beginning of the project, and it makes everything so much better at the end. So when we do closeouts and do a lot of the lessons learned and such, and we have those pieces, it's so much different when you have that level of participation from the beginning.
Now, give me that one more time. So you said on your single sticky note, you wanted two what in the hook?
So it's called two gifts, and actually I could probably send you the whole, I think I have instructions for how to do it.
Oh, yeah.
Written out somewhere.
That would be lovely.
But on the sticky note, we use the Hoilu huddle walls.
Okay.
I know everybody has some version of that, and so you can get sticky notes that don't show up until you have them revealed. So yeah, everybody got a sticky note that they thought they were privately writing this, and they're like, "Do you want my sticky note?" But it's two gifts, so two things that you believe you bring to the table. So for me, I'm the lean person, and I'll make sure we keep our ISO stuff in order because I'm the quality person. I'm just making these things up. And then, the hook, the thing that would keep me engaged the entire time for the duration of this meeting or the duration of the project or whatever you like it to be. But that particular day, I said for the duration of this meeting, what's the thing that will keep you hooked and keep you engaged throughout the whole 4 hours that we're going to be here?
That is just lovely. And see, people, you can have an amazing meeting in 4 hours where computers are closed and people are engaged.
Yes. For a person who doesn't attend they are not, you're going to lose him in 45 minutes. And everyone left more refreshed. It wasn't 12 hours, but they left more refreshed than the beginning of the meeting. At the beginning, it's like, how long is this thing going to take? Because I got so and so and so. And when we were done, a few of those individuals came back around and they kept saying, that was really a good meeting. And like, I'm glad we didn't waste the 3 hours. That time it was 3 hours.
There you go.
But yes, there's tons of tools like that to help us have that level of engagement.
I think that's an understated gift too. People that are listening, all of us in the construction industry, we're engaged in meetings millions of hours a week all across the world. I can't remember the exact statistic, but it's like an inconceivable amount of time that we spend in meetings. And very few meetings start with an icebreaker or a team building activity, but the ones that do, my goodness, they are so different.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're so different. So if you take nothing else away from this exchange, start doing that. Try the two gifts in the hook, especially for your longer meetings. I think, and we'll put the directions in there for everyone to try it. I think you'll be really, really impressed. Come out of meetings being refreshed. Ooh, yeah. Yes.
That's unheard of. Wait a minute.
It's unheard
I'm like, what are you telling us?
And was that was in person, that last one, that 3 hour one, or was that virtual?
So it was a hybrid. So I had some that were in the room, and that was the other challenge. It's hybrid. So there's some people who, they were probably checking emails at first, and then once we got engaged, it at the end. Yeah, it was very nice.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's still COVID season for now.
Yes.
So these things can work in person, hybrid, or all virtual. So it's totally possible. I like that. Can you tell me a story that conveys a time that you helped somebody, or it could be yourself?
So one of the bigger things that I do, especially when I'm mentoring and such, and actually, this was asked of me at an event I had gone to, and it was actually, I won't mention the name, but it's a person who's famous who actually said this. And he said, You have to do the thing that you would do for free every day. And so that's usually when I come across people who are stuck, who don't know what to do, who are confused, and I ask them, besides eating, sleeping, watching TV, playing video games, if there was something that you could do and you would do it even if it was for free, if you never got paid for it, what is that thing? And whatever that thing is, that's the thing that you should pursue.
I've never heard that advice before. Can you name the famous person, or you can't even name them?
Well, I guess I could if you don't mind, but it was actually Tavis Smiley. And it was some time ago that there was an event, and it's like, oh, I don't know, I'm sure. And he said, pick the thing that you would do for free every day, and that's the thing you should do. And so, yeah, that attitude and that mentality always led me to something, even things I didn't know that I would be doing, like being a lean champion. It led me into these things, but it turned out to just be super rewarding for me, using that mentality before I start to do things.
Well, that resonates with me 100%. 100%. I love that. I think that's worthy of a bell.
Oh, yes.
So now it's just out. Like I can't put it away now.
That's right. We have to do it.
You encourage me, so there you go. So for anyone who said sound effects aren't appropriate, no, you're wrong. They are.
That's right.
You mentioned one of my favorite subjects, and now you talked about what would you do for free no matter what. I mean, for me, it's Scrum. I would do that for free no matter what. Can you tell me a story about some ninja Scrum that you got going on? And you can change the names of the guilty to protect the innocent if you need to.
Okay. There have been times in my facilitation, we break these out by business units. Sometimes it's at a project level, but it turned into getting annual initiatives completed was the task, and we need to do this thing. And so after we had gotten the prioritization, it borderline turned into a stand-up meeting. And okay, over the next, I didn't get to stick with the 2 weeks for the sprint. It was, well, within the next month, we'll say by this date, we're going to have this thing. And so, yeah, it turned into facilitating. Okay, so you can do this by this, and if you talk to so-and-so every 3 days, you probably could have this. And so I was able to slide it in that way. I've already told you my plans for my what I'm calling Spark sessions. A lot of those are going to end up being Scrum items that I'll start off facilitating. I want to become a master facilitator. I want to be a Scrum master. I got to work on that. Yeah. But
I know a guy that actually offers that course that's focused for the construction industry. It's this guy. So
yes, I was going to say I think I've seen him before.
Yeah, we'll put a link to that type of training in the show notes. I encourage you, LaShira, to also click on that link when you need to.
I will absolutely click on the link because I want to do that. I've been sliding it into people, but as I help coach with some of those ideas and projects, those turn into projects and such, so that we were able to develop those ideas and innovations and such. That is absolutely how we're going to facilitate a lot of those and get people on the cadence of utilizing Scrum. And so I'm super excited about that. I'm ordering some extra sticky notes just because of that, because of my obsession.
I approve of your obsession. And I encourage you. If you need me to pour gasoline on that anywhere, I will. Let's keep that fire burning strong. That's right.
Yeah. Let's keep it going. And so, I'm tickled pink about doing all those things.
We had some initiatives. We were doing some changes. And at the midnight hour, they said, hey, why don't you facilitate this next portion of this? And I said, I'll be happy to. So I turned it into a Scrum. And I think we had 10 different Scrum teams. And we took something that should have taken what everyone said a reasonable amount of time, would have been 2 years. And we did it in 5 months. I mean, I'm just saying. Scrum is powerful. And I never told people.
Very powerful.
Never told anybody. I said, hey, congratulations, you're now on a Scrum team. I told some of them after the fact, where they said, they're like, we think that happened too quick. It happened too fast. And like the people you work with, they have day jobs too, trying to do these initiatives, right?
But yeah, getting them to talk it through. And again, it's another one of those times where they walk away refreshed because they're like, we can do this, and so they realize that, what their abilities are. And so, yeah, then it brings back that whole joy of being able to accomplish these things. So yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Ninja Scrum. We got to add that to your social media tagline.
That's gonna be it. I'm gonna make a video for it and everything. It's gonna be great.
LaShira Champion-King, Ninja Scrum Master.
Yes. I need a sound effect for that. Like I don't know what it is. It's gonna be the sound of a.
Yeah, let's see. What do we have here in the menu here?
I don't know what we have that equates to a ninja, but that works.
You're like, you would have gone for a couple bells. But I came in the clutch. I mean, this sounded too formal. It seems like I guess we're going to go into a battle, but it's not quite the battle. It's actually
no. We're all working together here.
It's quite easy. You've got your Sparks set up. You call them your Spark sessions.
I'm going to call them Spark sessions. Yes. Yep, sparking the idea.
I tell people too, LaShira, when you're checking in and you're doing the check-in, the daily scrum, as we call it in the official by the guide, you can just call it a check-in meeting. For teams that are co-located, they check in. It's called daily scrum because it has to happen every day. It's just the scrumlicious right there. So now
I'm stealing that, by the way. Scrumlicious. I am absolutely stealing that.
Steal it. Take it. Scrumlicious. We'll have to make a video about that.
Right.
It's like, how do you scrum? Scrumliciously.
Yes. Live life scrumliciously.
Yeah. Yeah, you can get a lot of things done with Scrum, and you get into that flow state. It takes advantage of where we like to be in that flow state, and things are just start to fire, and you lose track of time. That's exactly where you want to be in one piece flow. Watch out, everybody. LaShira's doing some Ninja Scrum. Spark sessions. Yeah, the secret's out now. It's still Ninja.
Right.
They're not going to know.
They all know.
They're not going to know it's coming, even when it happens. Maybe they'll ask afterwards. Maybe. So
I've had it happen.
They're like, what is this thing we're doing? It's just so different from the whatever.
It's the same way. I slid in A3 thinking the same way.
Oh, it's another thing that I love too.
I slid that in the same way. And hey, remember that thing you had? And you said, I love this and this is perfect. I was putty in your hands when I read this. I was like, did you realize it was an A3? Oh, wait a minute, it is an A3. Yeah.
You know this, but for other people listening, A3 is not just the size of paper outside of the United States, because in the U.S. we don't use ISO standard size papers. We use ANSI, ANSI, because this is America.
Right.
We're still not metric yet. I think the government threatens for us to go metric like every other year.
Yeah, you're about right. I didn't think about that, but yeah.
I'm seeing it happening. The whole basis of the A3 is built on PDCA, plan, do, check, adjust. And Jeff, when he was developing Scrum and really formulating the framework and getting the theory down, he based it on exactly PDCA as well. Mm-hmm. So I tell people, like, if you're doing an A3, you're actually doing a version of Scrum.
Yeah.
As is Tack Time, as is Last Planner System.
Oh, yeah. Every single one.
Do you feel like after you learned a little bit of Scrum, because you'd already been dabbling in Last Planner, did it change how you did Last Planner afterwards?
It did change how I viewed it and things that I would suggest to people. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Now I can do, so when you learn a new trick, it's just kind of like, now let's try it this way. And so, I think it did change my perspective on how to effectively do Last Planner and how to apply it from place to place, to having to keep it flexible. That flexibility is always key. That part of it really helped me be a lot more creative.
Creativity in a lean program from the quality champion person's mouth themselves.
That's right.
It's all possible. Look, we're having fun. We got sound effects going. We're talking about all these lean tools. Have you dabbled in any value stream mapping yet too?
So I have a little bit, and I had to pause on that specific project that I was doing it on, but I will be back. It will happen again.
Nicholas Modig, and he wrote the book This Is Lean.
Okay.
He does this TED Talk where he's going through all these different examples on how a patient is treated in the healthcare system in Sweden. And I watched it again recently, and I was like, I'll be darned. He just described value stream mapping without ever saying value stream mapping.
Most people don't realize it's more common sense than anything.
2 books on it that are like, one's a textbook, and the other one's like, it's the Mike Rother, John Shook, Learning to See value stream mapping book. It's good stuff. All those people that you work with in your organization, inside and outside of Walbridge where you work, do you ever come across people that you get the impression that the word lean has some negative connotations?
I have had that. Yeah, absolutely. I have had that. One part of it, which is, I think, with anything, is just the lack of understanding and them not having the success. So it goes back to me showing people the possibilities that are there, and also getting them to see that the most painful thing that you are going through on your project can turn into your greatest joy and your greatest success through a lot of these lean tools and concepts. And so, yeah, I've gotten the, you're going to make me say I'm going to save all this money and all this time, and then you're going to make me clean everything up, and then you're going to make, and then those people end up being your biggest advocates in the end when they're able to see those successes and see how it's easy for them. It's so much easier when you're able to communicate effectively what's in it for them. Without that, sometimes there are some people that, they come in and they hear that job title, they hear the lean managers here, and I've gotten the person that's like, well, I'm going to tell you what I'm not doing today. It's like, oh, listen, all I said was good morning. That's all I said. What do you want? But then now some of those people are my greatest advocates. Yes, it happens.
This is like therapeutic for me. Thank you, LaShira, though.
And me too. I just got my...
Yeah.
I vented about the guy I thought it was going to jump down my throat when all I said was good morning.
I had a superintendent one time tell me, he said, so you think you're going to teach me how to do my job? And I said, I hadn't even said good morning yet at that point. That was like the first thing. And that it had a happy ending for both of us. But
I love it.
Yeah, I love
and
that.
Superintendents are my favorites because they're that way. They are my favorites. Sitting through the AGC lean courses and sitting through those modules, and I hear the whole row. I don't know how all the superintendents got on the same row, but they're all, I ain't doing that. I'm not doing that. And then at the end, they're all like working together on the project group work, like, oh man, if I do this, then I can do it. I was like, I love the change. Yeah. So yeah, it's always awesome to watch.
Lean is learning.
That's right.
It's a common thread. It has been my honor and privilege to have you on the show. Thank you so much for being on the show. I'm giving you the last word.
Pick the thing that you would do for free every day and make sure that's the thing that you're actually pursuing and doing.
Very special thanks to my guest. I'm Felipe Engineer Manriquez. The EBFC show is created by Felipe and produced by a passion to build easier and better. Thanks for listening. Stay safe, everybody. Let's go build.